Autopsy of Pastors Part 2. How Pastors Dies. My figurative autopsies uncovered 8 common patterns. Some pastors manifest 4 or 5 of them. Many manifest all of them. 1. They said yes to too many members. In order to avoid conflict and criticism, these pastors tried to please most church members. Their path was not sustainable. Their path was unhealthy, leading to death. 2. They said no to their families. For many of these pastors, their families became an afterthought or no thought at all. Many of their children are now grown and resent the church. They have pledged never to return. Their spouses felt betrayed, as if they were no longer loved, desired, or wanted. Some of these pastors have lost their families to divorce and separation. 3. They got too busy to remain in the Word and in prayer. Simply stated, they got too busy for God. Read Acts chapter 6 verse 4 again in the context of all of Acts chapter 6 verses 1 to 7. The early church leaders saw this danger, and they took a courageous path to avoid the trap. 4. They died a slow death from the steady drip of criticisms. Pastors are human. Yeah, I know. That's an obvious statement. We sometimes expect them to take the ongoing criticisms from members as if they were rocks. But a steady drip can destroy even the most solid rocks. 5. They were attacked by the cartel. Not all churches have cartels, but many do. A church cartel is an alliance of bullies, bully followers, carnal Christians, and even non-Christians in the church. Their goal is power. Their obstacle is the pastor. Many pastors have died because cartels killed them. 6. They lost their vision and their passion. This cause of death is both a symptom and a cause. Like high blood pressure is a symptom of other problems, it can also lead to death. Pastors without vision and passion are dying pastors. 7. They sought to please others before God. People-pleasing pastors can fast and easily become dying pastors. The problem is that you can never please all the members all the time. If pastors try, they die. 8. They had no defenders in the church. Imagine a dying person with no Medicare, medical intervention. That person will die. Imagine pastors without members who will stand by them. Imagine pastors where members are too cowardly to stand up to cartels. If you can imagine that, then you can imagine a dying pastor. By the way, this form of death is often the most painful. The pastor is dying without anyone to help or intervene. 9. They died as a result of pressure to be like others. Travel around the world, have a big cathedral, be announced by God, be popular and live in affluence, competing with one another or others they have no idea about their stories. They allowed wide-mouthed intimidators make them feel they are failures without telling them the true stories behind their presumed success. They burned out and it took a toll and caused their death. They lost the simple rule of ministry that God gives to every man, that signs and miracles are not indicators of good success before the Master. The letters to the churches in Revelation showed it clearly. 10. They died because they gave room to ignorance, ego, and unwillingness to take advantage of opportunities God provided to help and enlighten their life. They succeeded in church but failed their health and spiritual health because they over-evaluated their status. 11. Some are killed by their fellow pastors, who added nothing to them but negativism. Increased their conflicts and inflicted more injury to their wound. Don't invite a guest from afar if you have no plans for them. You break their hope and add more frustrations to the existing ones. You have associates. You live big while they scratch to survive with their families. What you added killed them. Because they felt used, neglected and abandoned. Autopsies are not fun. Talking about dying is not fun. But if you are a church member, or a senior rich selfish ego exaggerating pastor, you can be a part of the reasons why pastors are dying because of your unwillingness to be sensitive and to do the right things. Pastors have a tough job. They get more kicks than kisses. If a pastor is young, he lacks experience. If he's gray-haired, he's too old. If he has 5 kids, he has too many. If he has none, he's setting a bad example. If his wife sings in the choir, she's being forward. If not, she's not dedicated enough. If he preaches from notes, he's dry. If his words are impromptu, he's too shallow. If he spends too much time in his study, he's neglecting his people. If he makes home visits, he's not a good time manager. If he's attentive to the poor, he's after public approval. If he attends to the wealthy, he's ingratiating. If he suggests improvements, he's a dictator. If he doesn't, he has no vision. If he uses too many illustrations, he neglects the Bible. If he doesn't use enough stories, he's unclear. If he speaks against wrong, he's legalistic. If he doesn't, he's a compromiser. If he preaches for an hour, he's windy. Less than that, he has nothing to say. If he preaches the truth, he's offensive. If he doesn't, he's wishy-washy. If he fails to please everybody, he's hurting the church. If he tries to please everybody, he has no convictions. If he preaches tithing, he's a money grabber. If not, he's failing to develop his people. If he receives a large salary, he's mercenary. If he doesn't, it proves he's not worth much. If he preaches on a regular basis, people get tired of hearing the same person. If he invites guest preachers, he's shirking his responsibility. Wow. And you thought your pastor had an easy life. How'd you like to change places? Bottom line. Love your pastor, care for them,